Hey, welcome to the channel. This is part 2 of the words that reached in the series that time I got reincarnated as a slime. This will carry on straight from part 1, which will be linked in the description. Let's get into it. As for their activity before the church had been established, that's a tale of 1,000 and a few hundred years ago. Even then, two beings called demon lords and which would now have been recognized as special S rank existed, Lord of Darkness Guy Crimson and Destroyer Milim Nova. Furthermore, some believed that other demon lords awakened as true demon lords, but none of these openly wrought havoc. Which is why, in order not to increase the people's anxiety for no reason, every demon lord has been classified as S-ranked, a being that can't be opposed with human strength alone. Because when a generation lacks a hero, they had to declare that humanity would not lose against demons. But this new monster just became a demon lord but may be immediately recognized as a special S rank. Heavy silence continued to rule the room, a silence which displayed a desire to reject accepting the birth of a new demon lord. Simple demon lords and true demon lords are an existence that towers over humans, but it's pointless to stand here in silence. Hey, Rahim, did you see it awaken? Ending the silence, Hinata asked. In response, yes, I believe an offering of 15,000 lives was sufficient, he replied, confident. Is that so? Hinata muttered and began to think. As things stood, she was fortunate not to have gone to Tempest yet. If her opponent was an awakened, if he turned into a true demon lord, then the number of troops didn't matter. Even if you gathered powerful soldiers, should they lack the strength to oppose that monster directly, then they are useless. The subjugation army's disaster only proved this point. Moreover, even though the monster hasn't awakened by then, it was still capable of destroying the army alone. From time immemorial, a hero and her carefully selected team would venture to defeat the demon lord. And since that's the case, I guess I'll have to go, she muttered. If the opponent is a demon lord, Hinata would have to go herself. And since there was no need to further increase the number of corpses, there was no need to send out normal soldiers. An elite few, perhaps 100 Knight Templar, could win this battle and have a higher chance of victory than a larger force. Hinata accelerated her thoughts, again and again and again, because she had to ascertain her victory. And as if interrupting her thoughts, a pained expression appeared on Rahim's face. And, from within his chest, a new face arose. Rahim's pained expression quickly turned serene. Test. Can you hear me? Pleased to meet you. I am the Lord of Tempest, Rimru. I'll say this in advance, this is a message. Even if you address this messenger, I won't hear you, so keep that in mind. A number of soldiers came at Rahim, sword drawn, but were stopped by these words. That's a speech they probably had to hear. The Knights Templar couldn't hide their surprise, whereas Hinata's expression did not change. She was merely awaiting the next words. Her head was calculating various possibilities, but her expression did not show it. That's just how much control she had over her heart and mind. Did the messenger suit your tastes? Good taste, right? Oh, but I didn't design him. Don't get any weird ideas. But let's forget about tastes. Let's get to the question at hand. I'm wondering how much you're planning to pay me to end this fight. I'll say this in advance, you started this fight. I have witnesses, so you can't overturn this fact. So what will you do? Personally, if you apologize for this incident, I am willing to forgive you this time. But, should you refuse to make amends with monsters, then we will crush you with our entire force. Without any reserve, without any mercy, without a second thought, we shall crush you. Which is why, I ask you to carefully consider the next step. That being so, is Hinata there? This message will only be played if your presence is recognized. But that aside, here's what I wanted to say. Well done attacking a person without listening to a single thing they had to say. A wonderful funeral you planned for me. But, too bad. I am alive. The next time you come at me, I will respond with my true power, but I want to hold a serious conversation before that. So I'd appreciate it if you gave it some thought. If you still desire to fight me after that, then that's that. Let this messenger know your response. The ones embedded in his body are the blood shadows. They killed my friends, so I cannot forgive them. So, I killed them and embedded their heads into this guy. This messenger is also dead, yet I made him undead so that they continue to suffer. After receiving your reply, he will come back to me, so don't worry about that. Should you decide to dispose of him, he'll automatically disintegrate thanks to your skill that I analyzed. But if you choose to only half kill him, that'll only increase his suffering, so keep that in mind. Currently, I'm headed off to the Demon Lord's Walpurgis banquet, so if you want to talk, decide upon it, and we'll talk after I return from there alive. Chances are it's going to be a week from now, so keep that in mind. Well then. I'm looking forward to your reply. And ending this monologue, the message conclude. The Templars, their mouths agape, looked at their trusted Hinata. Without being perturbed by it, she met their gaze. She was busy processing the newly obtained information. There were a few things worth of note, but there was not time for that. Though he had an aloof attitude, the message's content could not be ridiculed. The most important point was that disintegration had been analyzed. Now, should she fight, she probably wouldn't be able to use it on him. Perhaps he was only bluffing, but she could hardly depend on such empty optimism. Her biggest mistake was that she didn't notice his survival during their last battle. She felt a sense of regret. Yes, that rare feeling burned in her chest. He also mentioned other important things. When he spoke of making amends with monsters, he must have had the church's doctrine in mind. So he's probably searching for a chance to make peace with them. But that's something that everyone, Hinata included, would describe as naive. And, lastly, that monster Rimuru was most definitely not lying during their last meeting. The fact that he was also a world traveler and that he reincarnated as a monster. That was probably true. His Japanese was far too natural. That was the nostalgic Japanese that could only come from that world. At some point in time, Hinata had opened her previously closed eyes, and, without a word, she erased him with disintegration. If Rimuru's words were true, then quickly erasing him would be his salvation. And do not be tempted by him. Our creed is absolute. We should pay no heed to some lowly monster, she declared to the knights. Though she may have just contradicted herself, that wasn't something she could admit to. That is, if they were to ignore the monster's words, there was no need to disintegrate him. It was because she believed him that she did it, but the knights didn't notice it. She was the Emperor's personal guard captain, and led the knights herself. As their captain, she had to serve as the absolute example. Thus leading the hardened Templars was the reason for her previous words. Now then, what should I do? That's it for this chapter. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.